NFL Hall of Famer, played 14 years for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I want to state my case why I think Ken Riley should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I watched Ken Riley for 14 years of my career play cornerback and played it as well as anybody, even including myself. This man had 65 career interceptions. Think about that, 65 interceptions. Played tremendously all of those years. Ken Riley was a true all pro Hall of Famer, and I think it's an injustice, not only to the Hall of Fame, but to guys like myself who are in the Hall of Fame, to have a guy like Ken Riley sitting out there and has not been recognized for the work that he did and the contribution that he made to the National Football League. If there's any such thing as a Hall of Famer, it's Ken Riley. And I'm pleading and asking all the voters and everyone who support people like Ken Riley, who deserves to be recognized for their work. I'm saying this as a Hall of Famer. It's a shame, and we got to correct that. So a man like Ken Riley, who's not only made such a great contribution to the game of football, but to the game of life, a decent human being who gave his life to the community and to the NFL. So my case is that the man is a Hall of Famer. His records indicates that, and so justice need to be served for Ken Riley. Thank you very much.
Ken Riley and I was lockdown corners. We loved the game. You know what I'm saying? We played it hard, and we was the best at doing it.
That's right.
Ken and I together, there was no one better. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the Ken and I complimented each other on the field. We was roommates for 7 years. Never had an argument. Never had anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Rather, Riley and I was friends. Very close, closer than people can imagine. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we talked about a lot of things, not just football, but business, houses, cars, family, a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? I miss Riley dearly. In fact, I talked with Riley 2 days before he died, and we just had fun reminiscing, talking about things and stuff like that. I miss him, and I respect him. Hey, but he and I was two of the best. We was ball hawks. We learned fundamentals and techniques from Chuck Weber. Hey, we learned how to play three positions, bump and run. We could catch. We could play off. We could do several things. We was well diverse, and I got a lot of respect for Ken. Both of us should be in the Hall of Fame. In fact, we should go together. Right now, even though he's deceased, I still feel that he and I should go in that side. Yes, we was the reason because we was man to man, and anytime you could play man to man against anybody, you could do a lot of things on the line. You could stunt, you could blitz, you could do anything. We played everybody man to man. We didn't care who you were. We played Pittsburgh, you name them. We didn't care about them. Line them up, and Riley and I was gonna play them.
Yeah.
Uh, I was more bump and run than Riley. He was off. He mastered the deep technique, and I was in your face. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to take everything away. I didn't want you to catch nothing, short, medium, or deep. Riley
See,
mastered Riley mastered the off game. Said that he was very technique savvy. And
He taught me more about playing receiver than anybody I was ever around. You heard Pat say it, but he did the same thing to me. Is at the time I got there, he was sort of at the end of his career, and I'm sure beating a rookie time in and time out, help solidify him as he deserves to keep playing, after as long as he had been playing. But despite that, he would always sort of walk you back to the huddle, not in a like in your face way, but he would walk you back across after a one-on-one drill where he gobbled you up and say, I saw this, or when you do this, don't do that, or do this. I mean, all he wanted was for you to be better. And I've never met anybody like him. I've never in my life met anybody like him.
As a young player that came to the Bengals at the end of his career, I kind of looked around to see the type of individuals, not only on the field, the type of player, but also how they handled themselves off the field. And I mean, right away, I found out and knew about Kenny Riley as a player. I mean, what he had done over his career and what he had continued to do, even the short time I was with him. But I noticed the humility, but the leadership qualities. He wasn't, boisterous and loud, but you could tell that his work ethic and the way he carried himself, a true professional. And that's what I was thankful for when I got to the Bengals. There was about 3 or 4 guys that I looked at that had those qualities, and Kenny was right there on the top of the list. The way he handled himself, and just the excellence of humility and performance, and a tremendous leader. So I appreciated that as a young player coming into the NFL and getting to know Ken and having a chance to play with him.
Yeah, cool.
Hi, my name is James Lofton, and I am a former wide receiver in the NFL. Yes, I played for 16 seasons, from 1978 to 1993. 5 different teams, primarily with 3 teams: the Green Bay Packers, the Los Angeles Raiders, and the Buffalo Bills. Not only did I play 16 seasons in the NFL, but really for the last 40 years, I've been involved with the NFL as a player, as a coach, and as a broadcaster. I'm also an NFL Hall of Fame selector. So I sit in that room and we talk about players who deserve to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's what this is about. This is an endorsement for one of those players, Ken Riley. Ken Riley played for the Cincinnati Bengals from 1969 to 1983. He came into the league from Florida A&M as a 6th-round pick. He played quarterback in college, but he converted himself to a cornerback. 65 career interceptions. 65 career interceptions. Top 10 on the all-time list. You have to wonder why Ken Riley is not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Was it that he didn't start fast or he didn't finish great? No, started fast, had interceptions in his rookie season. And in his last season, 1983, Ken Riley, at the age of 36, was named first team All-Pro. He led the NFL in interceptions, 8 interceptions in 14 games. I played against Ken Riley. He made life difficult for a lot of receivers. But I went to Cincinnati on a hot streak. In the first 8 games of the 1980 season, I'd racked up 800 yards in 8 games. That's 100 yards a game. Easy math to do. I faced Ken Riley in week 9. After the game was over, I still had 800 yards. I did not catch a pass against Ken Riley or the Cincinnati Bengals that Sunday afternoon. Ken Riley gets my full-throated endorsement for the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Guys, want to welcome everybody to what we're anticipating to be a celebration of Ken Riley's career being officially announced into the Hall of Fame today. So also, obviously, we got our guys on the screen here. I want to say happy birthday to James, 58 years old today. Look at that old man. He looking pretty good for almost a 60-year-old.
Oh, man. Yeah, getting signed up for AARP today. It's a big accomplishment.
And Tom, I know this is something that is near and dear to our heart, man. We've the fans have put a lot of work into this thing, and we got to see most of Ken Riley's career, bro. This is a special night, we think.
Well, it's one of the things that we made a staple of, that we wanted to celebrate the careers of Bengal legends that weren't just legends to us here in Cincinnati, but needed to be immortalized in Canton at the Pro Football Hall of Fame for football fans around the globe to enjoy. So, and Ken Riley deserved this. Unfortunately, we lost him a few years back, but he deserved it long before this. He should have been here for this. But I know his family has hoped for this. They have prayed for this. They've anguished over this. They have cried sometimes over this. And hopefully the next tears they shed will be tears of joy. I know they're very anxious and very nervous, and it's been a very long, tough road for them. It's been a real sausage grinder for the family. So, looking forward for good news for them more than anything else. And I got to say, James, I mean, you are the epitome of it's not the age, it's the mileage.
Yes. Yes.
You go ahead, James.
No, I was going to say it. The problem is it's not the miles traveled; it's the stops in between that get you. But unfortunately, there's been a lot, even the last 2 years. But no, it's an exciting night. Hopefully, what will be number 2, 3? What do we count it? Paul Brown, Anthony, and 3. Is it? Or
Yeah.
2 players and 1
second player, third. Yep. Yeah.
So,
and we're be remiss. I know there's if you're not in Cincinnati right now, there's major windstorms going around. So Mark's internet went out. Jamie in Canada, I'm not sure if he's even made it back to Canada from Buffalo. We're still trying to figure that out. And Tony is out. I've been getting a lot of text messages from Tony. Tony's out restoring power. I think there's thousands of folks without power right now. So his crews from Duke Energy are out busting their butts. So be safe out there, Tony. As you're out there helping restore power for everybody. And I think right now what we have going on, I have my TV on in the back corner here. We expect to hear an announcement here early in the NFL Honors show tonight about Ken Riley and some of the other seniors being voted into the Hall of Fame tonight. So once that happens, we'll make the official announcement. I'm sure a lot of you guys are out there watching the NFL Honors as we are too. And I can tell you, we do have a very special guest on tonight that we'll try to get on here as soon as we hear the positive news that we think we're going to hear. So, Tom, let's go through some stuff about Ken, man. I mean, this again, I'm not going to focus on this. Should have happened years ago, right? But he's got more interceptions than 29 defensive backs in the Hall of Fame already. Obviously, the number 5 in interceptions in NFL history is 65. He was top 10 in interceptions in the NFL during his career 4 different times. He had 9 interceptions in 1976. His final season in 1983, he had 8 interceptions that year. And he had 2 games in his career where he had 3 interceptions. Tom, who were those 2 teams? Who were those 2 quarterbacks that he had 3 interceptions in one game on?
The one was he grabbed 3 off Jim Plunkett early in his career. And then in talking to Ken the second, as we've gotten to know the family and talked to Ken so often, he got 3 off of Joe Namath, in Queens at Shea Stadium. And I guess that game really stood out to Ken. That always meant a lot to him, that he was able to get Joe Namath 3 times on Joe Namath's home turf.
And that was Joe's last game, right?
Joe's last game as a Jet,
Jet.
before he was traded to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that meant a lot to Ken Riley, and he's the statistic I think that always bears out. And when I was talking to, exchanging with some of the voters or even some of the detractors, that they never could get around in the history of the National Football League. So the history of the NFL, one guy, Dick Night Train Lane, has more interceptions than Ken Riley at the position of cornerback. All the other guys were safeties or cornerbacks that became safeties late in their career. Ken Riley played corner. He was on the island his whole career and still managed to get 65 interceptions. And look at the guys he was going up against. And that's in a run-heavy league and a run-heavy division. He was going against Swan, Stallworth, Paul Warfield, Cliff Branch, Fred Bolitnikoff, consistently. Ken Houston, all those guys.
And let's talk about
5 interceptions.
Let's talk about that, Tom, because there's somebody in the chat here that says way before my time. Hopefully, Ken gets in. Let's talk about that NFL game back then versus what it is now. This day and age, we see the ball thrown all over the field, more passes than runs, and 90% of the NFL anymore. Talk about the style play and how dependent teams were on running the ball and how little, quite frankly, they threw the ball.
It was geared to run the ball because most coaches at least, did not trust the pass. The AFL in the 60s was much more wide open, much more, throw happy, and then came the merger. Ken was drafted in 1969, but, when he was put at corner, it was, I love the story that several have told us. He came in as a quarterback, and one day up in Wilmington, Paul Brown just casually walked by him and said, "You're now a cornerback," and pointed over to the defensive backs. And he just, I guess as Ken Riley always did, said, "Okay," and trotted over to the cornerbacks and got to work. And like James Lofton said, was very productive. Took over as a starter halfway through, never played cornerback in his life. And in July, he changes positions. And at Halloween, he's a starting cornerback in the American Football League, really the National Football League.
Yeah.
So, he adjusted to the game as it came through. It really became pass happy in the late 70s. You started to see the movement toward that. And, he was a shutdown corner. He was just an elite corner.
And Tom, for Ken Riley to have 65 interceptions, where he played the bulk of his career during a time in the NFL where they only threw the ball 15 to 17 times a game. If he would have played in a different era in the 80s, started his career, this guy might have had 80, 90 interceptions. I mean, as much as they threw the ball, So, I mean, for him to have this many interceptions in a decade of the 70s where they barely threw the ball, man, is just an amazing feat.
If he'd have played in today's game, when he went in to negotiate a contract, he'd have put his arm around Mike Brown and said, "Hiya, partner." He was just simply that good. He was a Hall of Famer when he played. He was a Hall of Famer when he retired. And hopefully tonight we get the news that his family so richly deserves that he gets a bust in Canton.
Yeah, let's go through. I mean, so we have, as a group, whatever we could have done as fans to really push this over the top. I would like to think that the fans really did play a role in making this happen this year. We do feel that this is going to happen this year. We don't know that for a fact. But, I mean, when you got players that, we talked to Mike Haynes. Mike Haynes very boldly said there's 65 reasons that Ken should be in the Hall of Fame. You had former players like Mel Blount, who did a very heartwarming, felt video on Ken endorsement, and his comment that stuck out in that one was justice needs to be served for Ken Riley. He's a Hall of Fame player, and there was just so many other former Hall of Famers that played against Ken Riley, who played during that era, that came out in support of him for the Hall of Fame.
So I think those videos spoke a lot. You did a great job to get those videos, share them on social media. We heard from the voters that we had on the show, people like John McClain, the gentleman down there in Tampa, Clark Judge. Those carried a lot of weight, and to have a gentleman that are already in the Hall of Fame say the things that they did about Ken Riley, that went a long way, no doubt.
Yeah, and I know there's a comment in here. I think Carrie, Tony's wife is. I don't know if everybody just saw Kelly Clarkson's big Dallas Cowboy dress. Kick her off the stage, man. So it was god awful.
So, but getting back though to what you said, and I really like Chris Collinsworth's comments and Anthony Munoz. He was quiet. So you have a quiet guy who didn't say a whole lot in a very small market that didn't get a lot of play. Sometimes was an NFL power, and other times was at the bottom rung, drafting in the top 5 or 6 for several years there in the Homer Rice era Bengals. So he never got a lot of publicity. He never sought any publicity. He was a team guy. He was a Paul Brown favorite because he worked so hard and because he produced. So, I know very late in Paul Brown's life, he would speak in interviews about how much Ken Riley meant to the team, how much Ken Riley, had done, and how good he was. And I know as time went on, how much it bothered Mike Brown that there weren't more Bengals in the Hall of Fame, and particularly two that bothered him at that time was Ken Riley and Ken Anderson. So, again, hopefully we get some justice tonight.
Yeah. So again, we're just watching the NFL honors. We don't know exactly when this announcement is going to be made. I know last year during this event, I was able to participate in this thing in Los Angeles last year. It was early in the show, so we'll keep an eye on this. And if this goes down, we're going to have a very special guest calling in, talking to you guys. So James, let's talk a little bit about I know we talked a little bit about it Tuesday night, but this Jungle to the Hall, the whole goal around this event was really how do we get not local media talking about our guys, but how do we get national media and NFL voters, Hall of Fame voters talking about just explaining the why behind one player in Bengals history being in the Hall of Fame. And guys, I think this Jungle to the Hall event served that purpose, man. There was news outlets picking this conversation up across the country. So the fans that participate in any way, shape, or form, whether they were at the event, the Jungle to the Hall, where they were sharing information, where they were participating on social media, I think the fans have really done a good job building the momentum around these. Actually, I'll put a picture up here. These are the guys that we're focusing on. The Bengals' great 8 right here. You get from left to right. You got Max Montoya, Chad Johnson, Isaac Curtis, Ken Anderson, Ken Riley, Willie Anderson, Corey Dillon, and Lamar Parrish. Those are the guys that we feel that should be in the Hall of Fame representing the Cincinnati Bengals. Their legacy should be protected in that Hall of Fame. But James, talk about this Jungle to the Hall event, man, because this thing has snowballed into something we had no idea was going to become.
No, I think when we initially made the announcement, even somebody like myself was like, what's going to go down? How's this going to work? Kind of uncharted waters, if you would, of doing something like this. But if you remember, the day started off pretty cool with a lot of us touring. I always say the word wrong. What's the name of the high school? Massillon High School, which obviously Paul Brown had a huge footprint on. And after touring that in the morning, we made our way to Canton, which for me was our first trip there. A lot of people in attendance, first trip there, and they had that huge tent outside, that banner hung in the background. We went through each player, from the Corey Dillon, the Isaac Curtis, the Kenny Anderson. We were very fortunate to have Willie Anderson there. Willie Anderson get up and speak and bring, God bless him, Willie Anderson to tears. One from the support. We shared, I believe it was the Strahan video that day that he had never seen before. And props to Tom. Tom did a lot of legwork developing the bios, kind of the script that we read that day, claiming everybody's accomplishments, their awards, and our reasoning on why they should be in the Hall. But we did touch on it Tuesday night. What would we say? Like 10 different states, people from New York to Florida, all the way out west to Colorado, I believe, were there in attendance. And I think it shocked me how many people were there. I think it shocked the Hall of Fame how many people were in attendance. And it was Father's Day weekend in June. It was just a random summer date that we picked that kind of worked with everybody's schedule. And I'm confident that set the tone moving forward to with what the Bengals have done on the field lately to bring exposure to the city of Cincinnati and the Bengals. But that event, as you said, it was not only the people that showed up, but using that hashtag Jungle to the Hall, sharing those stories. And as we said, as Bengals fans, whether it's their generosity and charity donations or spreading the word for deserving people that need to be in the Hall of Fame, they stepped up like always. Continued through the event that we did downtown Cincinnati last year, where we had Willie Anderson, Dave Lapham, Dan Horde talk about it all again. And I think the fruits of the work came through when Ken Riley was nominated, and hopefully makes that final straw here tonight to be the second player inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What'd I forget, Tom?
No, I think that the work that everybody put in, namely you and Jimmy putting everything together, especially that first year in Canton, would make tonight all that much sweeter if we get the news that we know should happen and we hope happens, and that Ken gets in. The Jungle of the Hall, it's not just a celebration of the players that we know should be in the Hall of Fame, and that's the backbone of it. But it's a celebration of us, the fans, and how much we care about the team and how much we do care about the players. And the one thing in talking to all the players, not just for Jungle to the Hall and endorsing them for the Hall of Fame, but also the Ring of Honor. And Jimmy, I don't know if you, because it's been a couple different guys that have mentioned it to me and mentioned it to you, is the cloud that certain aspects of the media in this town painted of this franchise put a bitter taste in a lot of guys' mouths as they left this city. They didn't think they were loved. They didn't think they were noticed. They didn't think they were cared about. And if we did think about them, we didn't like them. They didn't understand. That hurt them so much. It drowned it out the cheers as we were cheering for them. And, and in a guy like Ken Riley's case, who was kind of quiet, and if it happens tonight, it'll happen too late for us to talk to him. We don't know, what this would have meant to him. We've talked to Ken II, who said, again, very quietly, it meant a lot, and it hurt a lot that he had not been recognized. But I think the turnaround for Ken personally came, at least for me, came a few years back. It always frustrated me. But NFL radio, I believe it was Clark Judge, was on one Saturday morning in their hour-long show about the Hall of Fame. And he got a little irritated. He said, Ken Riley was an elite corner for his entire era, has 65 interceptions, and never gets a whisper from the seniors committee. And he said, why? And I think from that seed, and then unfortunately it wasn't long after that we lost Ken, but from that seed, kind of sprouted, well, why hasn't it? And I think in a market like ours, the only group that has irritation with us Bengal fans more so than other fan bases is the national media. And they need to be reminded. They clearly need to be reminded. The fact that Ken Riley couldn't be here to get this close and hopefully in is a travesty. The fact that Ken Anderson still is not in Canton is outrageous. The fact that Willie Anderson has to wait another year to find out is just plain stupid. And, that was the point of Jungle to the Hall, to celebrate the careers of those that obviously should be in and the ones that are going to have maybe a little more difficulty with their resume. Max Montoya went to several Pro Bowls while he was here. Max Montoya was the best right guard of his era in the NFL. He was the Ken Riley of right guards. But because he didn't get that national recognition during the prime of his career here, it's going to be hard for Max. So, it's up to us to bring that forward for a guy like him. And I don't think Chad Johnson will ever be forgotten, but remind the world about Chad Johnson. And in a few years, A.J. Green and, Geno Atkins should be an automatic in a few years, but we'll have to remind them about him, I'm sure, as well. So that's our duty as fans.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, James, you guys just nailed it, man. You guys nailed every aspect of that. And that's why it's so special about this Jungle to the Hall, because I think that fans wanted a voice other than just posting stuff on social media. What else can we do instead of just complaining about this on social media? And all the fans coming together, like James said, coming from over 10 different states and just hundreds and hundreds of fans coming together, showing their support. It gave them a voice, and it's given them, an opportunity to stick up for our guys. And I love it, man. It's just something special that's going to continue to grow from year to year, because this will never be done. If we can put a check mark, hopefully tonight on Ken Riley out of those 8, put a check mark on there. We still got Willie Anderson. We still got Ken Anderson. We've got guys we need to continue to focus on, to continue to get media discussion, not just locally, but nationally around.
And if we're talking about that, let's go back to what the Bengals have done from a social media standpoint, and maybe even backtrack a little bit further to the 50th anniversary selections that they did, that I think kind of start the ball rolling. If you Google Ken Riley, one of the pictures you see, I believe, is from that. What was the 50th anniversary? Am I calling it right? The
raising his, yeah.
Yeah. So let's give props to the Bengals. I think they did a good job of that. Remember, they had the special logos that year. They recognized all those players that year, and then they continued the momentum. It was something else that we talked about on the show. The Ring of Honor, I think, is a step in the right direction moving forward. What the Bengals have done from a social media presence here in the last 3 or 4 years, I think, has helped. And in the fans, it's Jungle to the Hall. It's not all us. It's not one person. It's us as a whole. Bengals fans, Bengals team, Bengals community. What everybody does on social media, and whether you're in Cincinnati or not, you can have a presence by. The one thing we've always said is stay positive. After that first year at Jungle to the Hall, nothing happened, and we didn't badmouth any of the people that got in. Kudos to them. We just kept staying positive. And, with Willie not getting in, again, stay positive, push the good narrative, the good things that he's done, and it'll happen. We're all confident that it's going to happen tonight for number 13, and we just need to keep that positivity. Keep what you're doing. Again, if you're not local, no problem. Keep sharing that, spreading the news. That goes a long way in this day and age. So we appreciate that, what the Bengals have done, what you, the fans, have done, and we're gonna keep that moving forward with Jungle to the Hall 3. That'll be announced here soon. Obviously, if everything goes the way we want, there'll be a pilgrimage to Canton in August, and exciting times ahead. But keep up a good fight, and we're all going to stay positive, regardless of what happens tonight.
Yeah, the one thing that I learned, that's great. You got Elizabeth, the Ring of Honor, the 50th anniversary. I'm glad you brought that up. The other thing too that I don't think people realize is, like Tom said, us being a small market, I think all these things need to come together and have to be cohesive and work together to make happen and get the national exposure that we need for our guys. Jeff Hobson has absolutely busted his ass, making things happen as well. It is almost like I don't know how to explain it, almost being running for political office. I mean, Jeff's got to go out and glad hand people, sit down and talk to people. He's got to sell our guys. Jeff has really, we know a little bit of inside stuff of all the stuff that Jeff does and works so hard to make happen. I think he appreciates everything all that you guys have done as fans to continue to bring discussion nationally around some of our guys. And I just think the fans, the organization, Jeff Hobson, everything that everybody's doing together is really making a positive impact on some of these guys. I'm hoping we get the next couple inductees, not just tonight, but over the next couple of years. We potentially could have 2 or 3 more Bengal players get in. Willie Anderson and Ken Anderson, and there's others that should be in there as well. So
I'll let you elaborate on Jeff, Tom, but we've seen how gracious he's been coming on the show and talking. God bless him. He was driving home, 2 weeks ago, when he made time out of his schedule to come on the show. And SPR person, there's a lot of that goes on with podcasts, with media, doing those type of things to keep the Bengals in the forefront. And Jeff's a big part of that. And again, we appreciate what he's done.
He is. He's a first-class person, and it's probably been long enough now. People don't remember that. Jeff was the beat reporter for the Cincinnati Enquirer before he transitioned and made Bengals.com the award-winning best NFL website in the league. I remember when Boomer came back for his second year, and somehow Jeff found out he was going to be in town. He was the only reporter down at Spinney Field as Boomer came in, and Boomer kind of, rolled his eyes and said, you just want me to come back, so you've got a story to read. And then when Boomer did sign the contract, he said, man, I don't know, Jeff Hobson's got Mike Brown's office bugged. But he loves the franchise. He loves the game. He loves the franchise. He interacts. He doesn't put his nose up to us fans. Jimmy, you might have seen today, I guess, Malik's out at the Super Bowl, and they were hanging together, 2 ultimate class guys. And what did Malik say is his coverage on the internet and so forth? He said, the one guy from the big media that treated me, with decency and respect was Jeff Hobson, which, he would do that because of what you do, Malik. But Jeff Hobson just treats everybody like that because he's a good person.
Right.
And, and all that work showed up. He has tirelessly worked for all these guys to get shots to get into Canton. And, I hope, he gets some recognition of that too, as good news comes.
Yeah. It'd be a weight off his shoulders for sure. I think there's a great question in here. Scott's asking, you know what? That's a great question. How can you volunteer and help out for the Jungle to the Hall? In the next couple of weeks, we're getting together, our inner circles getting together and kind of mapping out some plans around dates and times and really planning out what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be doing it here very soon. So keep an eye out on that. That's going to be several months before we get a volunteer list out, but that's something we will be able to get out to you guys.
And if you're, go ahead, Tom.
Good. Well, I think I was just going to say, and keep up with your thought, James. But I think we can go ahead, despite some of the rumors that have been out there about Jungle to Hall 3, despite what the Jungle to Hall 1 in Canton, Jungle in the Hall 2 at the in between downtown Cincinnati last year. It's going to be close to the epicenter of downtown Cincinnati, despite some efforts of some of our inner circle to have it moved to Canada this year. That won't be happening. I think we can go ahead and say it's going to be in downtown Cincinnati, can't we?
Likely, very, very strong likelihood there, Tom.
Yeah, very strong likelihood. And going back to what Scott said, I don't know if you're familiar, Scott, with what we did at the tailgate. So many people were gracious. We had a link set up for the tailgate where whether it was set up, tear down, help with food, whatever. I envision us doing probably something very similar with specific needs that we need for the Jungle to the Hall, set up, tear down, whatever throughout the event. So stay tuned for that. I appreciate you asking that question. And again, stay tuned for the specifics on when, where, and how you can be part of it.
Yeah. Changing gears a little bit as we're continuing to monitor the NFL Honors event tonight. Let's change gears a little bit. Talk about Ring of Honor this year. So, man, that's a great question, right? Who are we targeting for the Ring of Honor this year? Tom, give us one of yours.
Every year I think because 2 more guys get up there, or 4 guys in the first year, I think, well, the next year it's going to get a lot easier. It seems just to get tougher. I think 2 this year, and I've spent time thinking about this. My criteria is, should they be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? It's no coincidence that Ken Riley's on the edge of going in, and his name is up on that wall at Paul Brown Stadium to be mentioned and talked about during national TV broadcasts and so forth. Do they belong in the NFL Hall of Fame? What did they mean to the Bengals while they were here? Did they treat the franchise and the city and the fans with respect? And of course, performance overall. Did they help the team win? Were they essential to that? And one guy that, I'm looking around my basement at different pictures of guys, and they all could be on there. But one guy we saw just a little while earlier, Ken Riley's running mate, Lamar Parrish. And, there are those that I'm going to get back to Ken real quick, that the detractors that have contacted me and said, well, he played opposite of Lamar Parrish. And Lamar Parrish played opposite of Ken Riley. It was one of the elite cornerback pairings of the NFL during that period of time, in a run-heavy era.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing about that is, yeah, they played together from 1970 to 1977. What about the other half of Ken Riley's career where he didn't have Lamar Parrish on the other side?
Right.
Like James Lofton said, what about his last year when he was first-team All-Pro? So, he had a lot of outstanding seasons without his buddy Lamar. So,
Yeah.
but Lamar Parrish is definitely worthy of that. We're going to have a special guy we're going to add to our list of who should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to keep that under wraps for now, but be prepared for that at Jungle to the Hall.
Yep.
So that would be 2. But another one who stands out is, how many guys have been NFL Player of the Year? that have been Cincinnati Bengals. 2. The face of the franchise in the 80s was Boomer Esiason, the late 80s, early 90s. So Boomer deserves to be on the Ring of Honor. So there's 3 really quick.
So pick your 2. You got who are your 2?
Mine will be this year will probably be Lamar Parrish, and the person we're going to be adding to our Jungle to the Hall list.
Good. I'm going to give you my 2, and Lamar Parrish absolutely needs to go in, man. Absolutely. He's already been texting. He's watching the show tonight. Lamar Parrish, I'm going to throw you for a loop, Tom. I'm going to go Lamar. I'm going to go Chad Johnson. I think James, you just put that up there. Somebody had said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down Lamar and Chad would be my 2 votes. I think Lamar wasn't just an outstanding defensive back. This guy was the Deion Sanders of the 1970s. He returned kicks and punts. This guy was flash before there was flash. This guy was the real deal. So my votes will be Lamar Parrish number 1, and you can't go wrong with any of these guys, right? It's not,
let's go ahead in the chat area. Put up there your 2. If you had a vote, who's the 2? We see Carrie's there. I'm looking back through the chat. I want to say somebody mentioned the name Bill Walsh. What do you think he'll ever get in, Tom?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think he'll be on the nominee list.
No.
I think his contributions really were more to the game itself. As great an assistant coach as he was, as important he was, and the development and adjustment to the Bengals when they were an expansion team. That offense that he and Paul Brown worked together, that Ken Anderson came in, mastered, and really, helped evolve to dominating the NFL through, the 70s and the 80s and really deep into the 90s, the West Coast offense. But I don't think, because Bill was not a head coach here and because he left here, maybe not on the warmest of terms, at least initially. I don't think Bill Walsh should be there. So far as Chad, is so important to the franchise and got us so much attention. I agree with every positive thing everybody's going to say about him. The only thing I would say about Chad is there might be a few guys that I'd like to see on that wall before him. And a tremendous debate this week with Chad, with AJ Green retiring. Jimmy, you and I have done this. If you were going to have your first team all-time Bengals offense, who are your 2 wide receivers?
Oh, I'm going Isaac Curtis, and I'm going Chad Johnson. Those are my 2. 3 is AJ Green.
If you think about a modern player, let's say modern, 2000s, who do you think the first one's going to be of those newer guys? If you 2 had to bet, is it a Chad? Is it an AJ? If you had to bet of the newer modern, if we want to say that, Jimmy, who would you say? And then Tom, who would you say is going to be the first one?
In the Ring of Honor, right?
Ring of Honor. We're talking Ring of Honor here. Some people in the chat are talking Hall of Fame. We're strictly talking Ring of Honor. Go ahead and put your 2 in, but now looking specifically at the latest player to play, who would you say it's going to be?
Chad Johnson by far to me.
Tom?
Of the recent players that are eligible, probably from that grouping, Chad. Yeah.
Second being.
I got to think when certain guys retired. They're not eligible yet, but Geno Atkins. I don't think the Bengals have ever spelled out how long you have to be retired before you're eligible. But, Geno Atkins, and then, from that group of players during that period of time, if you're going to lump him in that group from when he left, Corey Dillon.
Yeah.
So that's starting to pop up now, too.
Yep. There you go.
Boomer. AJ says Boomer.
Dillon would have been my 2. Dillon would have been my second one. The Bengals win the Bud Light. I just watched it. Somebody just typed it in. Aaron did. The Bengals win the Bud Light Celly for the roller coaster celebration. That's fun stuff.
That was the defense, wasn't it?
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
the defense.
And
Okay,
this is
that's
taking nothing away from Chad.
Right.
I have Chad on the ladder of Bengal only a whisker above AJ Green. If AJ doesn't start having the injury problems he did, I don't think we're asking about if AJ Green is the next Bengal wide receiver, in the Ring of Honor. I think we're asking at what point does AJ Green go into Canton? And
Right.
it's a shame.
It's a great point.
He essentially lost 3 years where he was still very productive, and to watch that slide once he got injured. His first 7 years in the league, he was a Pro Bowler and he had 1,000 yards. Only Randy Moss has done that, so he was well on his way. It's just a shame that injuries robbed him of 2 full years while he was in his prime and a half year while he was in his prime, and that's another 2,500 yards. Add that to his total that he retired with. He's at about 12,500 yards, probably 9 Pro Bowls, and you're figuring out where to put his bust in Canton. But where he is now, he'd be right on the edge, and wide receiver is so backed up. It is such a backed up position to get into the Hall of Fame. You can certainly make a very good case for him, but I think it's going to be tough.
Yeah. I'm obviously listening, Tom, but I'm trying to also see what the hell's going on right now. Is that Kittle at NFL Honors? What the hell is he even doing? I can't even see.
We're talking about the festivities this week out there, and it's still tough to talk about. But didn't one of our guys win the ping pong competition that I see yesterday? You guys not see that?
Did not see that one.
Oh no.
Okay, maybe somebody in the chat can.
I wouldn't be surprised because I think that's a big
tune
deal.
in.
Big deal.
Big deal in the locker room. But I could have swore I saw that. Maybe
here comes Roger Goodell and Jerry Rice out here, guys. I wonder if this is.
Is anybody booing him?
No, it's the Man of the Year. Whitworth's out there as well. So Andrew Whitworth is.
Something we didn't get to, and we're going to get back because it's nice, is about Ken Riley, and hopefully.
Yeah. See, hold on. I wasn't. Trent Taylor did. There you go. Okay.
There you go. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
See, I wasn't dreaming things. Okay.
But as the commissioner takes the stage out there in Phoenix, I don't know what game. I mean, the NFL is the best game on earth. Football is the best game on earth. The NFL is the best run sport on earth. It dominates American sports. It is clearly number one. Its weakness over the last several years has been its officiating. And for him to say in an interview that he's never, the officiating has never been better and stronger. I guess he was with, in that box at the NFC Championship game. He must not have been able to watch the AFC Championship game later. He was probably at a cocktail party, not able to keep an eye on the screen. But, what's he watching? We're not saying blow it up. We're saying you've got to improve it.
Well, what's interesting, Tom, I think he's catching so much heat for this, for the refereeing, especially, fourth quarter of the Chiefs Bengals game. He's now having to answer to this stuff, which is interesting. That response, probably should have been a different response than that. But
yeah, admit there's flaws, But yeah, I like AJ's thing.
Working
Pop it up there.
That's
exactly.
Leave it to AJ, man. I kind of smiled when I saw it up there, AJ.
Nice.
All right.
You asked about ping pong. The only thing I have read about ping pong in the Bengals locker room is that Joe Burrow is evidently a very ferocious competitor at ping pong. So, but I don't know who won the league-wide championship.
I think that Trenton Irwin, talked about it when he came on. Go back and listen to that he's apparently a ringer when it comes to ping pong. Jen says Sam our nominee for Man of the Year, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what they're getting ready to announce.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, Jimmy, by chance, have you had any communication from our guest this evening?
No. Earlier today, early afternoon was the last time I corresponded with him. Yep. Nothing.
Okay. I didn't know, maybe if he had heard something, but no, but and getting back to Ken Riley's impact, something else that was interesting when he did retire at that age, the Bengals didn't want him to retire. They felt he could have played nickelback for another 2 or 3 years in the league.
Tom,
He felt it was time.
how many defensive backs in the end of their career have 8 interceptions in one year? The last year they play. I mean, it's
And are all pro.
Yeah.
I don't know, but there again, that just goes to how great he truly was on his own, and it just adds to the resume of why he's there. And I'm not sure without that last year if with the amount of disrespect he's been given over the years that we're here talking about him tonight.
Right.
Tom, we did get a compliment on your hat.
I would agree, Crypt Keeper. No doubt.
You'll always have to go Crypt Keeper with the AFL running tiger.
And you got the hoodie on too, right, Tom?
All my family takes here. My wife and kids do love me. They buy me all the time.
Do you have the sleeves on that sweatshirt?
Yeah, I'm not. No, I do not.
Okay.
I am not the magnet for our female viewers that our partner up in Canada is. I don't try to be. I'm playing football. I do want. We had mentioned Jungle to the Hall earlier, and I have gotten several questions about this on social media. The Jamie Stevens calendar will be available, we think, at Jungle to the Hall. I know the photo sessions are over. I haven't seen the pictures, but I know there have been a lot of people, particularly the ladies, worried about when would that be available. And I think they'll be available at Jungle to the Hall, take you through the football season and next year's the 2024 off season, and we'll get you back till June of 2024. But those should be available in June at Jungle to the Hall.
Is that why he was posing for pictures in the snowbank in Buffalo in January for the game?
There are a variety of problems and stories that took place in Buffalo, and I am just thankful of all you guys. I am the one that did not go.
He had those like rip away pants on, like the basketball players wear, and like the.
It was like a 1970s Earl Campbell tearaway jersey. Is what he had, but he's just got it, and he identifies well and communicates well with a certain part of our audience, and we're really thankful to him. He's a good friend.
With the exchange rate, Craig says $20 US, 3,000 Canadian. That is definitely true. Here's an interesting point. We know our brothers across the banks do Reds Fest every December to garner interest. They also do a caravan in the month of January to garner interest. This has been brought up before. It's been discussed before. Would the Bengals or Jungle to the Hall benefit from a caravan similar to what the Reds do? Hit different towns in Bengals country. So interesting thought, something we can certainly talk about as we wait for the orange smoke to appear for Ken Riley's announcement.
James, if you remember, we talked about doing something like that, and we had it as 2 separate events. We decided to focus our time and energy and efforts on the Jungle to the Hall, but that's a great idea. It's I love that idea, to be honest.
It's a great idea. Here's the one caveat I'm going to say. It's going to need to be held at bars because we have a lot of people that like to drink. So if we can just organize this at bars throughout the tri-state area, I think it's a heck of an idea.
It's just gonna be a bar hop from like Columbus to Dayton to Indy to Cincy to Louisville.
Yeah.
Well, I think when we are off the air, Jimmy and I just talked about the other day. One place in particular, maybe Jimmy getting the Bengal gym mobile out one Saturday and meeting there, and just everybody having food. Hopefully it's an outdoor place having food and talking Bengals football one day this summer, because as we've shown, it's always football.
Well, you know what? It's funny you mentioned that. I did correspond with our buddy Cam Miller, who we had on the show, about a month or so ago. And don't forget, he's got that film coming out. So I think we're going to do something tied into that film, tied into a charity fundraiser, and do something fun for Bengals fans. So stay tuned for that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Here's Robert ask. This was talked about heavily on Tuesday's show, and it's going to be talked about heavily in coming episodes. We had Brian on from Deep Fried Draft, Robert, a regular on the show, and we covered the full gamut of who we should look at, who's going to be available, what's the needs, who's going to stay and be around. So if you want to go back, watch that show on Tuesday. Everything's archived there on YouTube. And then we will be having several shows coming up leading up to the draft, where Brian will be back on, as well as other draft experts to talk about what they see us doing with that first pick.
Yeah, actually, there's some questions in here. I think some folks missed the early part of the show. So, Chris, yes, we are definitely shooting for a Jungle Letter Hall 3. Lisa's in there. I thought there was a couple other ones on here I missed, but yeah, I can't find them. So where are they at now? They're still at the honors. They're doing, is it NFL Coach of the Year right now?
They're trying to brag that they raised more money than we did this year.
Here's an interesting thing. Kobe, I don't know if that's how you say it. Can the Bengals promote throwback jerseys to promote more exposure of the older guys to the younger crowd? I know in the pro shop they have some of the older jerseys. Very well done. I don't know if Andrea's watching tonight, but she could probably speak to that. And I know Cook's, if you go to Cook's downtown, they will be more than happy to make retro jerseys. I know Brandon, who's in the chat tonight, he'll wear one. I've got, not saying he's worthy for any of this, but, people like Pickens, like Brooks. One day I'd like to get an old Bill Berge one, but whether they're made, there are some in the pro shop, or if you want to get a custom one made, Cooks will certainly do that. I think some people saw I had a retro style looking jersey for Burrow, which turned out pretty cool, made at Cooks. So you design it, they can make it, and they do a heck of a job at a reasonable price.
Yeah, anybody that comes in from out of town or we're going to go get some Bengal stuff, it's within 2 blocks over there. You go to the Bengals Pro Shop and you go to Cook Sporting Goods, the 2 best places to go.
Yep, boom, boom. And the Cooks has a giant wall. When you walk in there, you can look up that just has a sample of so many Bengal legends in their jerseys, just a sample of what they can make up for you, all the way from Greg Cook, 1969, to Joe Burrow today. And so many legends in between: Chris Collinsworth, Bob Trumpy, Ken Anderson, and 1970s style, and Ken Anderson in the early 80s, all the way through Chad Johnson, everybody. So that in and of itself is an historical site in town.
So the word they were doing now, thanks Jen, keeping up because I can barely hear my TV. I didn't want it on too loud. Was the salute to service. So yeah, Paul Robinson. I think they will do a custom jersey down at Cooks for Paul Robinson. That'd be beautiful.
I think I had a picture of exactly what you're talking about, Tom. I'm going to see what jerseys were being represented up there. Matter of fact, I shared it on social media. Let me see if I can find what they had hanging from the rafters there at Cooks. But it's definitely a cool place just to check out. They have a lot of old vintage stuff in there, and they do a heck of a job for everybody. Let's see if I can find that picture.
Here it is, AP Coach of the Year. Hey guys, we wanted to come on right at 9 because just when were they going to make this announcement? We didn't know, but it's Coach of the Year. Is that Dion up there now? Yeah, it looks like Dion.
Deion made himself coach of the year, and he's coaching in college.
Hey, Tom, let's talk about the three guys that we're talking about tonight for the senior finalist class. So we've got obviously Ken Riley. We got Joe Klecko, played for the Jets from 77 to 87, played for the Colts in 1988. And Chuck Howley, a linebacker for the Bears from 58 to 59, and the Dallas Cowboys from 61 to 73. Typically what this is a formality tonight. They were finalists, and usually those seniors get voted in at this time of year. But three deserving guys are still backlog of seniors on that list for sure.
Yeah, tremendous backlog. But, of course, everybody knows how we feel about Ken Riley. Joe Klecko was an incredibly big, strong football player on the defensive line, and so many people say, well, he was a tackle. He went to the Pro Bowl on from three different positions on the defensive line. He was a nose tackle, a defensive tackle, and he played end, normally the strong side defensive end for the New York Jets and the famed New York Sack Exchange. And while the Sack Exchange wasn't the reason this happened, that team beat the Bengals in 1982 when the Bengals were playing fantastic football and looked like they were going to cruise back to a second straight Super Bowl. They came into Paul Brown Stadium, first round of the 1982 playoffs, and upset the Bengals in what's frequently known as the Freeman McNeil game.
I remember that one.
He had a monster game against the Bengals, both running the ball and receiving.
Second half killed us on that game.
The second half killed us, and there were certain players on that Bengal defense that were no longer welcome back because of how poorly they played in that game. He really exposed some weaknesses. Chuck Howley was normally a tremendous answer to a trivia question, which was who was the losing player in a Super Bowl that won the MVP? And it was Chuck Howley. But was also on some of those great Dallas teams in the late 60s and early 70s, did go on to win a Super Bowl, got a Super Bowl ring, and is really another guy that so many have scratched their head as to why he hasn't been in. And certainly with the field expanding to 3 and Dallas having so many tentacles in the media, finally his play gets recognized and he'll get a bust in Canton. Probably tonight. I think in the history of this, there's only been like 3 guys not get in who were nominated by the senior committee. I know one was Jerry Kramer, who eventually went in, but it's very tough. And Jimmy, you mentioned the backlog. The Hall did something very smart when they expanded from 1 senior a year to 3. And they played around in different ways with it, but this is something they need to do. And this is a little bit of an experimental phase these next 3 years as they put 3 in each year. Do they make it permanent? Because the backlog is so tremendous of guys that have not gotten in through the regular vote those first 20 years after retirement and being eligible, and when they get kicked to the senior side of things. So hopefully the NFL is wise enough to do that. They still need to figure out a way to recognize some of the players that don't have members of the media in there fighting for them, guys that retired, back in the 50s and the 60s that, time is slowly forgetting. They just don't have the people there to fight for them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's shift gears again. Here's an interesting question from Doug. Why no love for Zach Taylor for Coach of the Year? Any feedback on that, gentlemen?
Yeah, I'll kind of touch that first. I think I think he is another year like he has the last 2 years. Then I think he's in serious discussion. I think I've heard some national pundits talk about the players on the team like the Joe Burrows and Jamar Chases and the T. Higgins and a stacked roster. This guy's done a pretty damn good job the last couple of years. He's a young coach. I think he does this again. I have another year like he's had the last 2 years. I think he gets more serious discussion for Coach of the Year. But that's my opinion on that.
And to not be in discussion, I guess, last year, looking at last year, for example, coming off the terrible season we had the year before to making the run that we had to the Super Bowl, certainly would think you'd be in discussion there. The Giants had a good year. So props to, was that Brian Dable there, the coach in New York, for winning that. But I think Zach will be in discussion. I think you see your frustration, Doug. I think fans do. We see what he's done in a short amount of time here, especially after the way his tenure started. Certainly a huge turnaround, and hopefully he'll be up there getting those accolades before too long. Tom, anything you want to add to that?
Well, I think last year he was an absolute slam dunk for it, and that is the same people that vote for somebody else, are critical and just skewer the franchise and him as coach for his record the first couple of years ago. We were frustrated too, but skewer him, make fun of him. You can't win in Cincinnati; it's impossible. And then when he does it in spectacular fashion, and they have a chance to recognize that, everything they said, they sweep him under the rug. I thought last year he was a slam dunk. It was wrong that he didn't win it. He certainly was every bit as deserving as anybody else this year and didn't win it. And hopefully he does get it one year. But I think, Coach Taylor would be the first one to tell any of us, be nice, it'd be great. I want Super Bowls. And, I really, the one attitude from all this team this past year was it's just not good enough to get to the Super Bowl. We want to win the Super Bowl. So, but I think Zach would tell us that. It's a shame that he doesn't, but, he's certainly done everything he needed to win it. And, the media can criticize any team's management. They can criticize any player. They certainly love to criticize fans and talk down to fans, but those idiots still can't get it right. So,
did you see the announcement? Joe Burrow just won a FedEx Air Award. The NFL, they showed some highlights. Him and I think Jacobs from the Raiders won the ground FedEx Award. So,
what a mistake the Raiders did. They had a chance to franchise him this past year, didn't. Now he's extend the 5th year, I believe. Excuse me, not franchise him. I guess they can still do that. But mistake by them. But yeah, obviously you saw the season he had, and congrats to Joe Burrow for winning the FedEx Player of the Year. Here's another comment. This is something we talked about. Let me get it pulled up here. Probably, I don't know, season 2, maybe. We even had a special guest on about aesthetics, I guess, around Paycor Stadium. We have the opportunity to visit a lot of other stadiums. Was it Cam?
Yeah.
It was Cam, but we had somebody else who did actual. It was Cam. We had other people doing, some really cool stuff.
Yeah, some really cool stuff. And as we get a chance to see other stadiums around the the NFL, a lot of them have cool stuff like this. Whether it's the Panther outside, whatever the stadium's called now, in Carolina, bust of great people outside Lambeau. Heck, we even see it right down the street at Great American. So I think we're all in your camp, Curtis. I think as we saw
NFL fan of the year, NFL fan of the year, man. Let's see if our guy Phil Ameren. I know he got a lot of votes online, so that'd be really cool if Phil pulled this out this year for Bengal fans. That'd be really cool.
Since Jimmy couldn't do it, we're going to have to cheer for Phil.
I was a loser last year. It's all right. Thanks for bearing with us, guys. Just we will have a special guest here, hopefully very soon after they hopefully make this positive announcement here. It looks like, is that a Carolina fan?
I'm seeing a lot of different fans.
Yeah.
So, but no, to finish the thought on the statue.
Seahawks, of course. Yeah, Seahawks.
There's the west entrance to the stadium. There's a platform there where I think Cam had a rendering of Paul Brown being carried off the field after winning the 1970 AFC Central Division Championship. It would be great there. But also in that green space, whatever you want to call it, gardening, but the hill coming down from the south entrance, right across from where Jimmy tailgates. They could put statues all through there and fix lights on them, of anybody that's gone into the Hall of Fame, Paul Brown, Anthony Munoz, and hopefully Ken Riley.
Yep. Very definitely. Josh says definitely need a Paul Brown statue. Who was it that it was an Atlanta Falcon guy that won it last year? Jimmy, right?
Yeah, older, really older gentleman who won Fan of the Year last year in the NFL. There's no criteria on that. It's like whoever the NFL wants to pick. And of course, they picked the 12th man, the Seattle, living up to the, what the NFL wants to push out there, right? So, been to Seattle, great group of fans. I still wasn't the loudest stadium I've ever been into, but that's what the NFL wants you to believe. So,
through all your travels, what is the loudest stadium you've ever been in?
It's funny. It just depends on where you're going. But the old TWA Dome in St. Louis, I think I was just situated in a very special area in the upper deck near the dome, the roof part. It reverberated in there so loud I couldn't even talk to the person next to me. That was the loudest stadium I'd ever been in.
They called it the Thunderdome for a reason.
It was legit. It was legit.
All right, if anybody else has any questions or anything they'd like us to discuss, feel free to type that in the chat as we await the orange smoke to be pouring above. Where are they hosting that? I mean, obviously it's in Phoenix, but did they say exactly where this is being hosted at?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't know. Somebody's watching right now might be able to tell us, but I don't know where this is at, but it's
Now, where was it last year in LA? Do you remember, Jimmy?
yeah, it was at SoFi.
It was at okay.
It was connected to SoFi as this giant theater. Ridiculous. NFL put a lot of money into that stadium.
Craig says you just need an arm tattoo and you probably would have had a better chance of winning.
If I only would have known, I would have done it.
It's funny. Speaking of tattoos, though, how many passionate Bengals fans do we see come through the tailgate with pretty cool tattoos, whether it's something as simple as a houday, a tiger, whether it's on their arm, leg, wherever, but pretty cool stuff. Brandon says Symphony Hall. All right.
See, Brandon would know. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat area. Let's just talk about, man. Who do you guys got? My therapist is telling me not to watch the Super Bowl. Still in therapy after the Kansas City game, but man, I am. If I'm rooting for somebody, man, I am rooting for the Eagles this week.
Go ahead, James.
Well, what a Jake Elliott, right? That'd be a second one since he's left here and never kicked in a game. God bless him. You're definitely not cheering for the Chiefs. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
Definitely not cheering for the Chiefs. Tom?
First and foremost, in the Super Bowl, if the Bengals aren't in it, I root for a good competitive game, and I do want that. There's that thought that if the Chiefs do win, it just goes to show that the Bengals were very special. 2 years in a row, they lost to the Super Bowl, the eventual Super Bowl champions. And what everybody, for whatever reason, kept screaming at me all this past offseason. Well, the Bengals are going to have that Super Bowl hangover. Super Bowl hangover is for the Super Bowl champion. The team that loses in the Super Bowl typically comes back very hungry.
Hey, they're going over that. They're talking about the Monday Night Football game right now.
You know what? DeMar Hamlin coming on?
Yeah, that's what they're talking about right now. They're showing.
You know what? This is. I know Tony's not here tonight. Carrie might still be on, but Covey, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. How much do the nonprofit raise from T-shirt sales? And it's funny, we just got that message from Josh at Cincy Shirts that if you remember the proceeds from that go to Ken Anderson Alliance. So it was the Big Burrow shirts, it was the tailgate shirts, it was the Talking Football shirts, and off the top of your head, do you remember what that number was?
Yeah, it was two different numbers, but it was total was $3,100. So raised directly, if you bought directly from Cincy Shirts, It was like $2,100 that was raised, and then we bought a big chunk, 100+ shirts that we sold at the tailgates.
At the tailgate itself, yep.
At another 1,000, so it was at 3,100 and some change is what it was just from those shirts. And we'd like to, Josh needs Cincy shirts. We appreciate you, buddy, man. That was a really cool thing you did for us in helping out Ken Anderson Alliance. We did post some transparency on social media platform today. We dropped off that check to Ken Anderson Alliance. I think that was a little over $2,000, whatever it was, directly from Cincy shirts, and we had donated that $1,000 earlier this year directly to Ken Anderson Alliance. So almost, I think Tony said we're almost at $30,000 raised for Ken Anderson Alliance this year, which is really cool thing. Really cool thing. I'm talking about the Mar Hamlin.
Well, the one thing we did learn, one of those trainers, and I'm just going to get the plug in, is from Syracuse, but it was interesting. A guy that worked with him at Syracuse is currently a Reds trainer as well. So the gentleman that was the lead trainer for the Bills that saved DeMar's life, as we talked about, was on the Syracuse staff, but one of the Reds' current trainers was somebody that worked with him and spoke very highly of him. So that was interesting to see how small of a world that training staff world is, and heck, appreciate all they do. And certainly we saw what happened on Monday night where they saved the gentleman's life. You know, as much as we want to slam the NFL for stuff they do wrong, the kudos to them for the preparation and the procedures they had in place for when something like that happened. So, I mean, they had everything there to take care of them. And, you know, reading about it as that week transpired, there's a lot of policies and procedures that they go over game day leading up to it, obviously in the off season, and they had their I's dotted and T's crossed, and it saved his life.
Yeah, James, that's perfectly put. In the interview that I referenced earlier, in that same interview, they asked Roger Goodell about that, and he said it wasn't as much about the response that they had. It was about the plan they had before that and how to initially handle that situation and help a player in need, and do everything they could for him, and then get him to the hospital. And the University of Cincinnati Medical Center and the team there, they're known nationwide for their, ability, their emergency room, the trauma center. And, they got him, took fantastic care of him, and hopefully he's on the way back. And I understand even one doctor today said that he couldn't say when, but he absolutely believes he's going to play football again one day, and that he can't wait to do it. So, everybody involved, from saving him to rehabbing him, probably the MVPs of the season.
Mm-hmm. And as I popped it up on the screen, UC Medical Center staff, kudos to them. So certainly what happened on the field and what happened, when he got to the hospital and from there. So great job by all those men and women to do what they did. We said Jeffrey's in here. He has a tiger stripe half sleeve tattoo with Houday on his forearm. So talking about the passionate fans that do have some Bengals ink. Jeffrey's got some. Hamlin on now, Craig says.
That's DeMar on stage right now, man. That's just good grief, man. That is awesome. Wow, this is a special moment, man. Good grief. Holy shit.
I think as we talk about next year, as we talk about the schedule, which will be a whole nother topic of conversation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Buffalo scheduled to come back to Cincinnati next year?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you almost have to think that that's going to be, I don't know, do they dare put that on Monday night again? Or
I have a feeling NBC is going to want that on Sunday night.
Oh, yeah, whoever's got that's going to want something prime time.
So.
Yeah, we got the Bills here. We go to Kansas City again. The draft is in Kansas City. James, come on, let's drive back up to Kansas City again.
I'm not going back for the draft or the regular season game. Playoff game maybe, but hopefully all 3 or 2 playoff games will be right in the confines of Paycor Stadium. We won't have to worry about any out-of-town parties.
That has to be the ultimate goal. But no, the NFL, and if we're going to give Roger Goodell, critique him for everything else, if so much of that was a plan that was already in place, then he and his team that devised that plan deserve all the credit in the world, along with another guy who, as time has gone on, everybody's remembrances of how he behaved that night seem to be getting quieter and quieter, and that's Zach Taylor, whose strength and class really stood out more than anybody else.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
So changing gears a little bit, but something that's topic in the news either today or yesterday, but was it Troy Vincent that said combine's dumb, all it does is lowers people's draft stock? Why are we doing it? Which I thought was very shocking. The combine has been a pretty integral part of, starting draft season, once the Super Bowl's over. I agree on the fronts with computers and technologies and videos. They can go back, watch probably anybody's Pee-wee football games. But to say it lowers draft stock, certainly it might, but I think it may also help some people's draft stock as much as it lowers it. There's other things thrown out about making it more regional and things like that. But I was pretty shocked that came out with that blatant of a statement, basically saying get rid of the combine.
Yeah,
I am too. The combine was very good to him back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think for every person that it hurts, there's somebody that it helps. I mean,
right, and 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the combine is while it's completely televised and so forth now, so many scouts and head coaches will say the most important part of the combine and what they like are the interviews that they get with the players.
Right.
The private one-on-one interviews.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and let's be honest, there's talks there between teams too, whether they're moving somebody, not signing somebody that's available. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So yeah, I felt that it was out of left field. Never even heard rumblings of that before. But it'd be interesting to get some players' take on that. I think regardless if it's not held in Indy or if the combine's not held in its current form, there will be some sort of pro days for teams to evaluate the players. And let's be honest too, I don't know what the number of how many players are invited to that, but it's not everybody that's going to be drafted. So, teams still have to go outside and scout for those late round guys or those undrafted guys. It's just not the gentlemen that are going to be selected in rounds 1 through 4.
What does Dave Lapham say all the time? Underwear ball. These guys
underwear
out there.
football. I was telling this actually the story today to somebody. Chris Collinsworth tells this story. Jim, you'll probably remember it. James might be hearing it for the first time. 1981, going into the draft, the Bengals desperately needed receivers. They needed to pump up the passing game. And as they scouted through, even though I guess he must have had a little bit of a lower grade, they liked a skinny wide receiver from Florida named Chris Collinsworth. And they also liked a wide receiver from Kansas named David Verser.
Yeah.
And part of back then, that was before the combine, was if they would get guys together and so forth, or they would take a picture of them, either in shorts, no shirt, to show their physique and so forth. So it gets to be draft time. The day comes, they walk in, Paul Brown's there, Forrest Gregg's there, the entire staff, and they've come down to what they believe after they've run their mock draft, who will be available. And Paul Brown was a very big, as the draft has kind of evolved, but at the time, Paul Brown always said, don't let anybody kid you, you draft for need. They needed a wide receiver. They were going after a wide receiver. They were down to David Verser and Chris Collinsworth. And Paul Brown sat down, opened up the final folder. He knew who the two guys were. and he looked at David Verser, who was just an absolute Greek god. I mean, he was chiseled. He was as fast as you can, and then he just looked like a Greek god. And he closed the folder and then opened up the folder of Chris Collinsworth, quickly shut it, and looked around and said, "We are drafting David Verser with our first round draft pick, next week." So, but yeah, they do strip him down. It is to a degree underwear football, but it's good to see how they're going to react. Some of the smaller guys from smaller schools, I should say, how they're going to react being on national TV with the additional scrutiny and the pressure, how they react. And then, coaches watch everything. How are they behaving when they're not in there with a drill? Are they horsing around?
Yep.
How are they listening to instruction? So much of that is important.
Yep. There's a comment there. We said too, there's interviews and all that good stuff. I mean, look at somebody like Hunter Renfrow. I mean, look at Tom Brady's draft picture. I mean, far from chiseled Greek gods, but we know how their NFL careers have turned out. Kobe here is another thing about Indy, and this is about the NFL as a whole, of just how much money it brings in. We talk about bringing the draft to Cincinnati. Obviously, it's in Kansas City. City up north had it. How much money would that bring in? But anything the NFL does or touches is a big revenue stream for the city where it's happening.
Indy does a tremendous. Well, James, you're there. Indy does a tremendous job with the draft. Every year they do great jobs with Final Fours. They did a great job with the Super Bowl. They know how to handle and do a great job with an event.
They're doing angry runs right now. If you remember, Pete Ryan's got to be on there, right? Remember the Tennessee game, first run of the night, I think it was. Yeah. Bounced somebody off the turf there. But it's only a 2-hour event, so we got to be getting close to making an announcement, because they usually close with the man of the year, right?
It's supposed to be the big event, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Brady, hey, that's a good point, Jason. Tom Brady's combine video pictures are just hilarious.
Yeah, if you can Google them, they don't speak greatest quarterback of all time and greatest player of all time.
Similar to what I think Mac Jones, people were comparing Brady's to Mac Jones there a couple of years ago. This was Doug. This was brought up on Tuesday night as well, about the tight end position possibly being a position that's drafted in round one. I think the one thing we learned from Brian is there's some good tight ends up there. Certainly could be a possibility in one, in two. I think we were all pleasantly surprised by the season Hayden Hurst has. I would think 99.9% of the fans would love him back, but at the end of the day, I think that the number he's going to want is going to be a big factor in whether he comes back to Cincy. Hopefully he is. Maybe we can get a hometown discount on him.
9 is a lot when you look at who we're trying to re-sign and extend. 9 is an awful lot.
All right, who we got here coming out? We got some OGs coming out, man. So the gold jacket. My TV's too damn far away.
Oh. John says, I see gold jackets. Is that Emmett leading the way?
That's Barry.
No, is that Emmett?
Yeah, I believe that Emmett Smith and Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Barry Sanders is one of my all-time favorite non-Bengals. He was fun to watch.
Well, that Syracuse guy and his highlights.
I was waiting for you to say something.
He was a great lacrosse player, I understand.
Where'd Hobson go to school?
Syracuse. He's an Orange.
James played lacrosse with Jim Brown in college.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Told you today's James. But what did you do on your birthday today, James? Shit.
He was super dad.
He was
Yeah,
doing some work.
I was playing taxi driver.
All right, guys, if you're hanging in there, I would tell you it's going to be well worth your wait if this announcement goes on. If our special guest shows up at this point, we're still targeting that to happen.
And as always, we would, after our brief love affair with the NFL,
Jamar's walking on stage.
but after our brief love affair with the NFL, we'd like to thank them. Last year, they made the Hall of Fame announcements toward the beginning of the program, and tonight they've made sure to put it at the end. So,
What's up with that dude's pants, man? I don't even know who that is. I can't even see. Surely they're not doing the announcement with these two.
there's some issues going on right there, and none of them are Jamar's. So, but James, looking into the effect. I mean, with your experience working in sports media and so forth.
Oh, look at this.
How much does it help?
Next gen stats. Bengals win probability under 50% in the fumble, and you've got next gen stat of the year. Bengals are going to win another one probably. Oh yeah, Vikings game was crazy too.
How much does it help somebody being in the Bengals Ring of Honor making their case for NFL, NFL immortality in Canton?
You know, it's interesting. There's an article here that I just happened to pull up from Tallahassee.com. Another major step to this was Riley's induction into the Cincinnati Bengals Ring of Honor. One theory as to why Riley hadn't been selected to the Hall of Fame was because without the Ring of Honor, the Bengals had not declared him one of their best. So right, wrong, or indifferent, that is out there.
Yeah, I've heard that argument. I don't agree with that at all. I do think the Bengals need to recognize their greats before they get before they go into the Hall, before they recognize in the Hall of Fame. So again, I think the Bengals are righting a wrong. So Sam Hubbard did not win the next gen stat of the year there, but who cares? Who cares at this point?
Who won Man of the Year? Did we miss that?
I think they announced that last.
That's the last. That's the closing
Okay.
speech. That's the last probably 10, 15 minutes of the event tonight. So that's why we got to be getting close to the Hall of Fame announcement here, guys. Justin Jefferson. So James, Cannon's crashed a couple hours ago, right before you got on the show, right?
Yeah, he's sound asleep. Sound asleep.
The other thing too, we're talking about the charities earlier. Stephen Thomas, who did those photos, you can see a photo over James' left shoulder there that his wife Lori got framed for him. But he sold prints of some very spectacular pics of Paycor Stadium and in downtown Cincinnati last year for that Raiders playoff game. And every print that he sold, he donated $35 to the Ken Anderson Alliance. I drop off a check this week for $1,995 because of all the prints that you guys purchased throughout the year. And that also went to the Ken Anderson Alliance. So very cool of Steve Thomas to do that. Very cool print behind you there, James. I love that one.
Yeah, that one was from the Monday night game. Probably the most famous one he did was of the fireworks erupting at what was then Paul Brown Stadium from the win over the Raiders 2 years ago. So check him out. We can put a link in the chat. But very great work that he does, and even better, just somebody else that's given back to great Cincinnati-based charities.
You know, it gets me sick, Tom, seeing him. Not that I don't dislike Terry Bradshaw, but how in the hell is he in there and Ken Anderson not in the Hall of Fame? Ken Anderson's 10 times better quarterback than Terry Bradshaw. If Ken Anderson was on the Steelers, Steelers would have won 10 Super Bowls. I'm just
Terry Bradshaw has, but you're right. Those 4 Super Bowl rings, but Terry Bradshaw was a great big game quarterback, and that big game was the Super Bowl. So
Right.
he's a Hall of Famer, and the Hall of Fame is better to have him in there. Class guy. But Terry has addressed that. Terry has said that about Ken Anderson, that, he said, I had the team around me. I had the team to excel and win and be a reflection of that. Ken Anderson to a certain degree, and Ken will never say this because the first thing he talks about is his teammates.
right.
But, Ken was sort of doing it all his own. I mean, you have to look. Everybody said, well, he won 2 NFL passing titles, but he was using Bill Walsh's system. I don't understand how that matters. But he also won 2 passing titles, again, back-to-back, under Lindy Infante, which was, all due respect to Lindy Infante, Ken Anderson's system.
Right.
And that, he played and he formulated and he strengthened. So, but, Terry Bradshaw's he's been great for the NFL and great for that city where the Ohio River starts. And no, he's a Hall of Famer. And
Great dude. Great dude.
Great,
He's a trip. He's funnier than hell. Did a great job.
quarterback.
Yeah.
So, and very special.
Got the.
They're doing a montage of players we lost in the last year, and one of the gentlemen that passed away, I remember reading about when he did, was the guy that pretty much ended Greg Cook's career.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't.
Jim Lynch of the Chiefs. He
got that,
delivered the hit that made Greg Cook's shoulder hamburger.
Yeah, I
Nippert Stadium.
got that painting up right there that Greg Cook did of that. I do love seeing the old school pics and videos of these guys.
So, Gino Capoletti, another AFL legend.
Yeah.
So, but well, at this point, us being on much longer than we had anticipated, and the broadcast scheduled to end at 11, the announcement should be either yay or nay, should be coming at any moment now.
Yeah, definitely, because that last, I want to say 10 minutes is the speech. If you remember, Andrew Whitler's speech last year was just amazing. That guy's so good. So good. All right, guys, we're getting close to getting this announcement done here. So what else we got in the chat? We got a ton of stuff in the chat area here.
Bring it on.
Come on, guys. What do you guys want to talk about here? Let's go. Expanded big wits, but two us players into the honor. We'll talk about little Chris Henry here. Tom, I mean, obviously life ended way too early, man. And could have been one of the best.
We'll just never know, but God, he could go deep. And man, think of him healthy, not being suspended, playing in that offense with Chad Johnson all those years.
Right.
Again, what could have been. And he was so young and so talented and by all accounts had really turned his life around, had things focused in the right direction. So, yeah, clearly a tragedy, but we'll just never know. But, boy, the talent was there. The talent.
What about kudos to his son, who's turning heads and obviously in high school now, but I think on the radar of a very prominent D1 football team. We know Chris went to West Virginia there, but his son turning heads and basically probably going to be able to write his NIL ticket to whatever major program he wants to go to.
Yeah, he's, a lot of people don't know, former Bengal Adam Jones, many know as Pac-Man, adopted Chris's 2 sons and is raising Chris Henry's 2 sons here in Greater Cincinnati. So, but yeah, I know he's had he had a lot of Division I offers as a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
So
He just transferred. I think he just transferred to Withrow. I think
I believe he did.
that got him to a little bit more competitive situation there than where he was. Yeah, and I think Syracuse, he was ruled out of Syracuse, man. He just declined their offer.
We don't have the boost. We don't have the boosters that could write that check.
Brandon.
Greg, Greg brings up an interesting talk about the draft and doubling down. I'm gonna pick a position that kind of goes back to what we talked about on Tuesday night. You may see us double down at running back, especially if Mixon isn't re-signed. There's a great crop of running backs, and that could be an outside the box or tight end would be my two guesses, Greg, where we may double down in the draft. I think your initial thought is tackle and cornerback, and hopefully that might be the case too. You know, I can see us trading down, accumulating some more picks that would allow us to double down, but that's my outside of the box guess.
Well,
Tom,
we'll never know. We'll never know until what free agency brings us. But they could do it at tight end. They could do it at cornerback. It's more than one position, but they could do it. If you count just offensive linemen, they could very easily do it at offensive linemen. But keep in mind, with all of our acquisitions that we're going to have them this offseason, nothing matters until that offensive line is fixed. Nothing matters until Joe Burrow is safe. Nothing matters, and we're not going to be champions until Joe Burrow can do everything he wants to do back in that pocket.
Yep. I could see him doubling down in all those different areas, Tom. Tight end was my first. Cornerback. D-line, they need to get some rush. They need to get some pressure on that quarterback. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went D-line or edge rushers as well.
All right, changing gears again. Rob says, if you don't remember, at the beginning of last year, the end of season 2, we had Josh on, super collector. We even did some shows. We did a memorabilia event at 16 Lots up in Mason, and we did a couple shows where we strictly highlighted memorabilia. So, Rob, if you get a chance, go back and watch those. You might also recognize Josh from Cincy Bob's. That's the name of it, correct?
Here it is, guys.
He does.
Pro
All right,
Football
go
Hall of
ahead.
Fame.
So check those past episodes and feel free to comment on what your
My white whale for Bengals memorabilia. The white whale for me is a 1968 full uncut ticket stub from Nippert Stadium. You can't find them. So here we go, guys. I think this is
my Hulu TV is behind you guys here a little bit.
okay, guys. I think we're getting this is it. Guys, just understand Willie Anderson's probably his best bet is next year.
Somebody get a hold of the Bengals Mike Cart for comment on Joe Thomas getting the Hall of Fame. He is deserving.
Darrell Revis, class of 2023.
Remember the verbal spars that him and Chad Johnson had about Revis Island, the playoff game there, all that.
Oh yeah. Well, he was a hell of a ball player, DeMarcus was. Anthony Munoz. Oh, my gosh, dude. There's my man. There's our man. Congratulations, man.
I'm behind you. So
Ken Riley Jr. is now on stage, and we'll make it official. Congratulations, Ken Riley. And what's, we always talk about the players, but man, how this whole process affects the family, man, is just amazing. And Ken got the call from the Hall of Fame, and the person on the Hall of Fame gave the phone to Anthony Munoz to congratulate Ken Riley. Joe
well, it's
Klecko,
well deserved. So far past deserved, and
Al Blunt, congratulations, man. So hang on here with us a little bit longer, guys. I'm going to tell you right now who the special guest is. Tom, I think we could probably go ahead and just share this. Ken Riley said he was going to come on the show. I told him no need to do that. Guys, he appreciates what you guys have done so much. He made it a point to say, Jimmy, I want to come on the show this evening. So when he gets backstage, he said he was going to come on the show. So, guys, I'm going to hang out here. James, dude, if you need to go to bed or whatever, brother. I know you're getting old, brother. I know you need to get your beauty sleep. But I'm going to hang on here as long as it takes, because Ken's going to be dialing in here, guys. And he said he wanted to say something specifically and directly to you as a fan of the Cincinnati Bengals, which is very cool. Oh boy, good grief. Tom, no comment on that one for me. Dan Fouts. Don
well,
Corey.
we hope to be talking to Dan this off season.
Yep. Hopefully he can endorse Ken Anderson.
Well, he already kind of has, but hopefully he'll endorse him.
He needs to come on record and video to do it. Man, how this affects the family through this whole process, man, is just something I never would have guessed prior to.
They've been through the sausage grinder through the years of Ken just getting ignored for no reason, or the voters shrugging their shoulders and saying, yeah, we need to look into that, and then just ignoring it and passing along. And then the year that the Hall had all the veterans in, the 10 veterans in for the 100th anniversary of the NFL, and he didn't get close then. And then the year he finished second, which a lot of people don't know, he was actually first. He had been voted in, and somebody at the last minute changed their vote, put him back to second place, which at the time didn't get him in. And then the year after that, after being second, not even being a finalist, they have just absolutely been through the ringer, a sausage grinder, and this is so much well-deserved for Ken Riley, wherever he's looking down tonight. But we can't talk to him. We can't tell him what a special person and a special player he was. But we certainly can let his family know.
Right, yeah. Again, just to repeat, to let everybody know that Ken Riley II, things may have changed, but he was very specific about wanting to come on the show this evening when Dad got the official announcement. So we're going to hang out here a little bit longer. I'm going to wait for him. And if he doesn't show up, I completely understand, man. He's obviously enjoying the moment that, it's got to be very emotional for him. His dad, always talked about this, wouldn't really talk to the media about it, but would always share that conversation with his son, Ken II. And I got a feeling you're going to see Ken Riley II be on stage up in Canton to uncover his dad's bust. And Tom, what were we talking about the other day? Which bust? What year are they going to use of Ken Riley on that bust in Canton?
Well, when he was nominated, and I was talking to him one time, I asked him. I said, "What version are we looking at? We're looking at the rookie version." And I sent him a picture of it, and he had not seen that picture, a 1969 picture of Ken. And he said he and his sister had actually been debating that and talked about it, and it was between a Super Bowl version from 1981 in a mid-70s version with a little bit bushier hair, and Ken had a little bit of Fu Manchu working back then. So, but he liked the rookie version as well. So, I don't know if they decide. That's a great question as to how they decided. And I know it was one he was hoping to be able to ask.
Right. Right.
Mon brings us back to memories following the Jungle to the Hall event. We all went and toured the actual Hall of Fame, many of us for the first time. And then, what was the name of that brewery we gathered at? Jimmy, do you remember?
Which one was this? What city again?
In Canton, following the after we toured the Hall.
Fatheads.
Fatheads and blueberry beer. They did have a very good blueberry beer there. See, Big Al. I posted him. Big Al, first time he's tuned in. Good to see him. Last time I think we saw Big Al, he was at the Holy Grail for our Ring of Honor special live show that we did there last year. So welcome, Big Al. Glad you're watching. And just, the overall response from fans here, everybody's excited. Finally, thank you. Who day. So keep putting those in, and we'll get them posted up here.
Yeah, I think Tom needed to step off here just for a second. Yeah, man. So kind of hang with us, guys. We do expect Ken Riley the second to be on with us here shortly. We're going to hang out here a little bit longer. And again, if he doesn't wind up showing up, it's completely okay. But he was vehement about wanting to come on the show this evening. So just
exciting times for him. I mean, look who's up there on stage with the current Hall of Famers that have those gold jackets on, and the people that are going in around his father. So exciting stuff. Alex says, "When's Willie going in? We're going to keep pushing."
Yeah, when Tom gets back on, we're going to talk about this. So we've got two different committees here, right? We got the current committee. We got right now Ken Riley II was in the senior committee. So Ken Anderson's still in that senior group that we want to keep getting in that finalist group, and Willie Anderson is not in the senior committee. So we just got to make sure we keep fighting for these guys, because we think the next two going in, Ken Anderson next year and Willie Anderson next year, would be awesome. So I'm so happy for all the fans, the organization, the Ken Riley family. Just I know I keep repeating this, James, but I had no idea. I always thought about the player when we talked about the Hall of Fame, but as we got close to a lot of these players and their families over the past 2 or 3 years, James, man, it affects the families as much as it does, these players, and it's just unbelievable.
No, it does. I mean, we talk about, and just got an email from the Bengals that Ken Riley's in, so that's perfect timing. But we just feel how we feel of losing the playoff game to Kansas City 2 weeks ago. How much that hurt us, how much that's still hurting on us. But, these families deal with this emotion, these ups and downs, the roller coasters. This is your year. It doesn't happen. This is your year. It doesn't happen. So the fortitude they have to keep that positive attitude, and tonight's the culmination of all those years of tears, all the years of joy. And, finally it's paid off, and kudos to everybody that made it happen. I like Robert's post here. I had it up here. The Great 8 is now the Magnificent 7, and hopefully be the Sweet 6 or the Fab 5 once Willie and Ken get in. So we're gonna have to update the banner now and do a new one that's got the Hall of Famers on it.
Go that back up. So we got a big giant check mark on number 13 there, and I am going to tell you guys, I think Ken Anderson Willie Anderson get in here very soon as well. So it'd be really nice to start knocking these guys off the list and doing what we can as a fan base to support and supplement what Jeff Hobson and the Bengals organization is doing. So,
well, so your son's tuning in, Jimmy. He must be finished his repairs on the cottage for the evening.
Yeah, granolas.
It's still early there.
Yeah,
it's not normal.
On dessert.
We're on normal time.
Yes.
He's not. So for those you don't know, my son got engaged Christmas Day. Very happy for him. He got himself a good one there. So hoping to get out. Trish and I get out and see him in Portland here very soon. So
I think that this is certainly doesn't absolve the sting of not being in and winning the Super Bowl this year, but this is a tremendous statement for a fantastic cornerback and an even better player,
Yeah.
in Ken Riley, and a big statement again, for the Bengals organization. They deserve more players in the Hall of Fame. Now they have a second, and you can't get to 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 without getting that second one. And it's been a long time since Anthony went in. It's been a quarter of a century, and so it's about time. We're not going to have to wait another quarter of a century, and
Yep.
we're certainly going to remind them about that. So we've been, I shouldn't say me, I've been very critical of the voters in the Hall of Fame and Ken Riley's detractors and Ken Anderson and Willie Anderson's. But congratulations to the senior committee for nominating him, and congratulations for the voters as a whole for confirming that he belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Simply because he does. There was no reason that he shouldn't be in there.
Right.
And
I want to hit on a couple quick things here, guys. So if you have never been to the Pro Football Hall of Fame parade, guys, we are planning. We're in the beginning stages of planning. James and Tom don't even know about this yet. I've been on the phone with the Hall of Fame multiple times this week. We're planning on doing a float, a Bengals float for Ken Riley and his family to go through that parade. If you've never been to the Canton Pro Football Hall of Fame parade, guys, it's legit, man. It's not just some little side street. It's a legit parade, man. It's a big deal. And don't buy your tickets to the Hall of Fame Gold Jacket induction just yet. Hold tight. I'm working out an arrangement right now with the Hall of Fame for Bengal fans. We are going to fill up every seat behind the Riley family for that Hall of Fame on the ground level. So we got a lot of stuff in the hopper, guys. So stay tuned. We should have those seats and all those things finalized here probably sometime next week. But I expect all of Cincinnati and every Bengal fan that's within driving distance, or even the diehards who are in flying distance, to be in Canton. It's a very special moment. I hate that I did not get up there for Anthony Munoz when he was inducted. Tom was at 98, I think, somewhere around there, 97, 98. I'm not missing Ken Riley. I'm not, as long as I'm alive, I will never miss a Hall of Fame induction of any Bengal player that goes in.
That's the weekend of the first weekend in August, if my calendar is correct. August 4th through the 6th. That sound right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
The weekend before the preseason begins. So yeah,
the Hall of Fame games up there that week. That whole week up in Canton is pretty amazing. The NFL has dumped a boatload of money in that area into the Hall of Fame. It's to have another Bengals legend legacy being protected by that Pro Football Hall of Fame is very special for everybody. So I'm excited about it. So yeah, Rob, he lives in Canton. The parade is legit. Yeah. Yep. Bear with us, Rob. Stay tuned to our social media platforms. Should have that worked out here early next week. We're not going to have spattering of Bengal fans there. We're going to have a huge section on the ground floor of the field for that induction. So it's going to be awesome.
Any word from Ken, Jim?
No, he's got to be backstage right now. So I'm going to stay on here a little bit longer, guys. If you would have heard it in his voice earlier this week, I was asking maybe you could do some sort of just a video thanking the fans or something like that. He said, no, I want to be on. I want to be on the show. Just makes it that much sweeter, man. All these fans that have stuck with this team all these years, the last couple years of success this team's had, the Ring of Honor and all the great things that are going on with this organization, man. It is just so much fun. And the capper on this thing is, this Hall of Fame announcement tonight, which is awesome. So, guys, let's stay as positive as we can on social media with all this stuff.
James, I'm wondering, I'm not in a position to check the email that the Bengals sent out and or anything that might be on Bengals.com. Is there a quote from anyone in the organization, or just a simple announcement that he made it?
I just took a screenshot of the email, which is pretty cool with a logo there. Hold on, I'm actually pulling it up now, and I'm happy to read what it says here. Ken Riley II vowed never to visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame until his father's induction. The door opened Thursday night when the Hall announced its 2023 class, and the date is set for August 5th. That's when Bengals Ring of Honor member Ken Riley, the late, great Bengals cornerback, carries his 65 interceptions into the Canton, Ohio Shrine forever. So let me, that's what the release said, and let's see if I can get this picture up here. So pretty cool. Let's see.
Those emails go out in batches, so I don't have mine yet.
Well, it's fan priority, Jimmy. You're way down the line. Tom
Oh, yeah.
got his like 2 hours ago. Here's the screenshot of from the Bengals email.
Very cool. That's the bust right there, Tom, I think.
I think that's what they were thinking.
Yeah.
When they were thinking, yeah. Mid-70s type Ken. But they got a couple good ones, but you know what? They're all going to look good. There's not an ugly bust in Canton.
There is not. There is not an ugly bust in Canton. That is correct.
So we got more people popping on right now. Just post on social media that we're expecting Ken Riley II to come on with us. Guys, if he doesn't show up, obviously we all will understand that, because this is I'm not sure who went out with him, if it was his mom or his sister, but I'm pretty sure it might have been his mom. So I'm sure he's backstage enjoying the moment with his family. And it looks like Anthony Munoz and some other, I'm sure the Bengals, the Troys and Katie's and Elizabeth Blackburns are all out there probably as well, back there with him. So good night, Mon. I know you got to get up early. So
So, but that from those that are watching right now, how many are planning or would like to go up? I mean, it's not the weekend to really visit the Hall of Fame because it's so crowded, but to be a part of it and to show the support of it and to recognize this. I mean, there have been in other sports, Cincinnati sports icons gone into their respective Hall of Fames, and the city nearly stopped. Unfortunately, Ken is not here to enjoy this with his family and all the fans. But I certainly hope everybody who can plans on going up to Northeast Ohio to Canton at some point that weekend, particularly on the 5th, and letting them know how strong we feel about Ken Riley and letting them know how strong Bengals Nation is. It's not just a bunch of fair weather fans jumping on the bandwagon while the team is hot. But, we're there when things are not good. We're there when things are good. And we're there when things are legendary good, like they are tonight. So I hope the family gets to enjoy every bit of this journey from now until August and immortality.
yeah. So Tom, James, I look, man, if you guys got to get off, I'm good. I'm staying on here for a little bit longer. But looks like Dak Prescott won Man of the Year here, didn't he? Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith will not be happy. But
Dude's never happy.
Yeah, it's a true story, James.
but I'm sure it's well deserved by Dak.
So speaking of Cincy Bobs, got the Ken Riley bobblehead that Josh and Hollis did here. They did a hell of a job with this. Oh, Anne Marie made a good point here. Did they do was John Stofa in that memoriam that they did just now with all those players? They keep missing Bengal players every damn year.
I did not see John Stofa in there.
Yeah, Anne Marie,
from what I saw.
I didn't see at all, but again, I could have missed it, so I don't know for sure. Patrick Mahomes won this damn thing.
No, I didn't see John Stofa in there. And they're either I don't know what they choose in the criteria, but not horrifically.
Yeah, I'm sure your guys' phones are blowing up too, man. Good grief.
Yeah. Yeah, I keep getting message drop down after message drop down, but this is so big for the organization and the fan base. So everybody needs to enjoy it. We were craving so long for things to find to enjoy, and this is definitely one. So
Just
giant day for the franchise.
I don't know, James. I think we need to call Kick. Let's get the sound, the stage. Let's go down and have a tailgate tonight, party all night. And that is funny, James. We've got a lot of people asking, like, can we do a tailgate in the off season? I'm like, yeah, why not? We'll figure it out. Do some charity.
Didn't we talk about it leading up to Jungle to the Hall?
That's a great idea.
Place, yeah.
Yeah.
Locally.
Well, I think we can probably do one before I don't know what parking's like up there. Can we do one before the actual ceremony?
It's a zoo. Think Indy 500, James.
The ceremony wouldn't be too bad. The parade day, that's a possibility, James. That we wouldn't have enough room. You know how when tailgates happen, Bengal fans come together, man. We have 4,000 to 6,000 people at a tailgate.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, it's worth. You know what? It's absolutely worth a call to try to find out. Give us some room. Give us some space.
Worth exploring for sure. Worth exploring.
We're gonna.
In this, Nick, I don't know. I don't know if it does or doesn't. Tom says no. That article that I read says no. So let's be glad that the Ring of Honor is.
I will say this: it's a giant piece of it, and it spoke so much that he not only went in, but he went into that inaugural class. And we only had 2 guys to put in. I put the 2 guys down that I had the most seniority, and both how I feel about Willie Anderson and talking and getting to know about him and why he went in with Ken or Isaac Curtis this past year. But yeah, it's hard to put a guy in the Hall of Fame if your team has a Ring of Honor and he's not up on it.
Yeah. I think it's a combination of everything, guys. I think you got to have the Ring of Honor. You got to have Jeff in the front office doing what they're doing. You got to have the 50th anniversary, the fans being involved, how they were. I think a combination of all those things really did help. And the continuation of that is going to continue to help people like Ken Anderson and Willie Anderson, in my opinion, as well. So.
If you're still on from the Alzheimer's Association, I just sent you an email. Take a look at that when you can. Somebody made a donation. This is an interesting point. We've never tailgated for any of the mini camps, whatever you call them.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Riley just texted me. He said, "Give me 10 minutes."
He's got them.
I'm sorry, James. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. This is another opportunity. Tailgate, mini camps, training camps, whatever it is outside there that happens in the dog days of summer when it's about 99 degrees in the shade. But might be a good excuse to drink some 16 lots Kenny's Day Drinking Lager.
Yeah, we did it many, many years ago in the late 90s, early 2000s, James, but not to the level we're doing it today. I think, hell yeah, brother, we're gonna make some things happen, man. Oh my gosh, dude, I just
Here's Craig says let's tailgate at Massillon's parking lot.
There's plenty of room there. We got room.
From what I'm hearing, I think there's a beer fest in the city up north. If anybody happens to be by the mistake at the lake this weekend.
Is it this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Since he was last weekend.
Hey, James, you know what? We should drive up there for it, dude. We missed the one here because we were out of town.
I feel like I haven't been home in like months.
I know.
Cannon forgets what I look like. Oh, gosh.
Let him hang out with his wife and son this weekend.
Hold on. Riley's texting again here. Let's see.
And another one, July 29th at the baseball field. So,
Craig, Craig, you think I'm joking? I think I'm coming up. I'm not used to being a.
You got a lot coming up. You've got the Autism Rocks event for
That's
Ken Anderson. I did notice, and I shared this in our text messages. It says pictures only. It has a bunch of former players. Then they have Bengal Jim, and it says pictures only, no autographs. So apparently, Tom, Bengal Jim's to that stage of his stardom where he doesn't sign autographs anymore. Tom's not even going to comment on that.
Jimmy, you won't sign autographs now?
Stop it, man. I'm uncomfortable with that. Stop, Tom.
Will
you
take
saw the text. You saw the text. The pictures are allowed, but no autographs, according to that. So I like
he's texting right now. He's texting right now. He said, "I'm getting to an area where I can do this." He goes, "Hey, I can't say it enough how much we appreciate all the support the fans have put in and all the effort you guys have put in." I mean, that's.
I'm watching Ken Riley take an interception away from Hall of Famer Steve Largent right now on my left. So, this is justice. This is what's right. It's a reason to celebrate. It's also a reason to be relieved. So, but
So everybody's
fired up.
We got people coming on and off the show right now. Ken Riley here should be popping on with us here in the next couple minutes. He's texting right now, so he's trying to get to an area where we can do this. I told him he did not need to do this, but just to be very clear, he was insistent that he come on and do this. So you guys are going to get to see the first interview, first discussion, and first words from Ken Riley II about Dad's induction here. So
if you have some questions, we'll try to get to a fan question. As we've said many times, you, the fans, have been very instrumental in this. So if you have a question, you can put that in the chat now, and we will do our best to see what the second has to say about those.
I saw one question just pop up about Geno Atkins. I believe you have to be retired 5 full seasons to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. So Geno still has another 3 years to go. But Geno, that'll be something we talk about when we have to take up the torch for him. Geno may have some of the same problems between the small market, and Geno never talked to the press. But that'll be as we add him to our list for Jungle to the Hall. We will certainly be fighting for Geno Atkins as well.
Allison Montoya is texting right now. You know how much it means to former players and families, and Max got to play with Riley. So
yeah, they played together 5 years. So.
Yeah, it's funny. Max came down to the tailgate. If you guys remember that the image that we did for Jungle to the Hall that we did. Max had never seen this image before, and Max came over and said, "Who did this?" I was like, "James did for the Jungle to the Hall. We had it. We take it everywhere we go." And the pride on his face, just the energy that he had, seeing his image on there with those Bengal legends. It was he wanted his picture taken next to his that poster right there. So his wife's taking pictures next to that Jungle to the Hall banner you did, James, and it's very cool to see these players react like that, man. It's something special to them.
No doubt about that. No doubt. And then again, if you're just joining us, and if you're not on the Bengals email list, this is what they sent as the cover of the email to honor what we're all embracing tonight. And I think I read it while we're waiting for Ken. I can read it one more time for those that are just tuning in. Ken Riley II vowed never to visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame until his father's induction. The door opened Thursday night when the Hall announced its 2023 class, and the date is set for August 5th. That's when Bengals Ring of Honor member Ken Riley, the late great Bengals cornerback, carries his 65 interceptions into Canton, Ohio shrine forever. So, well said. Prominently noting 65 interceptions, and mark your calendars for the weekend of August 5th. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, so we do got a quote here from Mike Brown. It's on their social media platform. So this is a quote from Mike Brown. Ken Riley was a wonderful person. Everyone at all levels with the team respected him. Ken looked out for others. He was known as someone who would help. Had he lived, Ken would have been delighted in being selected for the Hall of Fame. Now the extended Bengals family will have to do that for him. We miss him and we celebrate him. Mike Brown, Cincinnati Bengals. That's a really cool quote.
I'm pretty sure we will hear something extra from Anthony. Anthony has a lot of duties with the Hall of Fame right now, but I'm sure we'll hear something extra from Anthony at some point very, very soon as well.
Yeah, we'll see how much. I'm sure Ken just wants to come on and make a couple comments and maybe get off, but we'll see how long he wants to stay on. But I would like to know, what was said by Anthony Munoz, right, on that phone call when he found out Dad was being officially inducted. So.
James, I can see your eyes going left to right. What are you reading? You got a bulletin for us or more reaction?
Yeah, no, this was I was reading the email on the donation that somebody generously made. That'll go towards next year's pot that we haven't determined that dollar amount. Again, as a circle of trust meets, figure out that'll be one of the many things that is on the agenda for our goal for this year. And I think we're still totaling this past season, and I think we exceeded 130.
Yeah, the only thing that is still outstanding that we need to close the books on is Bengal Bids did some stuff for us at the last tailgate and in Kansas City that a percentage of those mystery boxes were going to go to a charity of our choice. They are out in Kansas City preparing for the Super Bowl because they not only work with the Bengals, but they work for with the Chiefs on their stuff too. So they would they told me that they would be finalizing those dollars after the Super Bowl because they're extremely busy out in the desert right now with the Chiefs stuff that they do as well. So I would think there's going to be a pretty good chunk of change there, but I think we'll go over $130,000.
Jimmy, I know you've had some contact hoping that this was going to happen. Finally, that the right thing would be done with the Hall of Fame. You worked with them so closely for the first Jungle to the Hall. Any sense that they were excited at the possibility of really an untapped resource for them, Bengal fans, coming up and visiting Canton and being part of that weekend?
Yeah, what's interesting? The Hall of Fame has been outstanding to work with. 2 or 3 people that I deal with pretty consistently, 2 of those 3 are Bengal fans, and they're excited. They were excited about this announcement. They can't wait to see Canton just full of orange and black. There's always a pretty good chunk of Bengal fans up there, but I want to get busload after busload after busload up there for the parade and the actual gold jacket, the actual induction. So it's going to happen. We're gonna absolutely fill that place up there. It's going to be fun.
Got your message, Anne-Marie. So that sounds good. And if you're just tuning in, we're waiting for Ken Riley II to join us. If you missed the ceremony, he is in Phoenix. Was on stage as his dad was announced as one of the 3 senior finalists to get the final nod tonight and be enshrined in Canton.
Craig had something in dropped a note in chat that really in the gift shop up there isn't a whole lot of Bengal items. And, the Bengals are represented just like every other team in terms of T-shirts and hats and so forth, but not with members. And if this next year is like this past year, they should be coming out relatively quickly, sometime after the Super Bowl, with T-shirts of all the 2023 class. And I know last year's was really, really cool. So be on the lookout as soon as they become available to get your Ken Riley one. While we're waiting for Ken, another reminder that we had ended season 3 of Bengal Jim and Friends Tuesday. This is a very special episode that has turned into a mini series, but we will be signing off. You can still visit us through our various social media. You can go back and watch old episodes, especially some of the ones with some of the retired Bengals are particularly good, especially to me. But we will be back switching to our off-season hour or day of Sunday. We will come back on a Sunday. Calendar's not in front of me. I don't know, Jimmy, if you've got one there. Is it Sunday, March 12th? Is it the 11th?
It is March 12th.
March 12th.
That's Sunday.
We'll be
The
back
day,
on that just
the start
before
of daylight savings time.
All right. Well, daylight savings, and even more important, James, NFL free agency.
Yes.
So we will be on for that. We've got some special guests in mind to kick off the offseason as to what the Bengals are going to do, what the Bengals are doing, and but certainly starting with some coverage of free agency, and then leading up to the draft about 5-6 episodes later there at the end of April. So yeah, it will be an active off season for us and for Bengal fans. The NFL really never turns off, but a very special Jungle to the Hall 3 coming, and in August, right before the games start, because Jimmy, I can see his mind clicking away. What we're doing up in Canton. So, but
Can't wait.
There is no off season, as you said. Something else that is big and something that I think many of us plan our fall around is once that schedule is released. Do we go overseas this year? Is Buffalo a primetime game? A lot of things that moving pieces there as we plan our fall. I know Jimmy and I have to hell or high water make that San Francisco game so we can cross that out of our stadium visited list for Bengals games. So it's exciting time, and unfortunately nothing else gets planned for the fall until that schedule comes out. So sooner that happens, the happier we all are.
Yep. Guys, he hasn't texted me in the last since I've said something to you before, but he said give him 10 or so minutes. So I'm hanging out here. I mean, remember what are they, a 3-hour time difference or 3 hours behind us? If I gotta stay until 1 o'clock, I'm here, man. So
they're 2 hours.
2, okay.
2 hours.
Well, he didn't mean 2 hours and 10 minutes. He just meant 10 minutes. So. knowing Ken, I'm sure he's fighting for a way to get away from the press and everybody and get to somewhere for a moment or two of privacy so he can get with us. And I'm sure he will.
I didn't even really see what all else happened there. Who won what awards? I really don't even care, to be honest. This graphic right here, actually, everybody knows who Heirloom Framing, right? So this is the guy. Gosh damn, I forget his name, but he actually works with the guys at Heirloom Framing. Did this graphic for us, man. It's really cool. Really good here. It's beautiful.
That is very cool. Very cool.
Hey, Tom, that picture down in the right-hand bottom corner, that's one of my favorite pictures of Ken. It's later in his career, but I love that one. So And actually, I think I might have.
I think two
Talk-
additional.
He got done with his sleep podcast. He's on now. Bring him on, James.
Oh my gosh, he just signed off.
Are you guys still going? You guys are still going?
This is the
You're
longest
live, big guy. You're
episode.
live.
I feel like I'm watching the Jerry Lee Lewis telethon here. What's going on? You guys,
Hey, Jamie, this is the longest time we've been on since the first time we did it, that draft night.
you guys, I couldn't get on earlier, so I just get home, pour a glass of wine. I'm sitting here going, you guys are still going.
It is, you know what? It is after 11 Eastern, Jamie. You not only do you not need sleeves, you could probably go topless now after 11.
No, that's true. That's true.
Hey,
Awesome news,
Yeah.
guys. Awesome.
So, Jamie, Ken Riley II just messaged us about 15 minutes ago. Said, "Give him some time. He wants to.
Cool.
He wants to come on and say something to the fans." That's really cool.
I don't have to stay on. I don't want to ride the glory here. You guys put in 2 hours. I just hopped on for 2 minutes.
Well, I think
We're on 2.5.
to recap, Jamie, I think the Bengals, when I say we, won 2 awards. It was Joe Burrow got, where is it here in the chat? FedEx Air Player of the Year. Is that correct?
So
Somebody had it
does
in
that
there?
does that go to the player who gets the most FedEx Player of the Week?
I don't know.
Don't know. Okay. Yeah.
Josh Jacobs.
I saw he didn't.
Brown.
I saw he didn't get MVP. I saw Mahomes got MVP, but
And then the other award that we won was the Bud Light Selly of the Year award for the roller coaster touchdown celebration by the defense. So we have Ken Riley, Skull Jacket, and then those 2 other awards that
that's
we
awesome.
won.
So Ken Riley's coming on.
He said he's coming on. He insisted he wanted to come on tonight. I told him he could do a pre-recorded thing and say thank yous. He says, no, I want to be on. Matter of fact,
here we go.
Speaking of,
all right, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and bring him on here. See how his connection is here. Man,
Yeah, can you hear me?
congratulations, man. So happy for you, big dog. So happy for you and the fam.
Man, I just want to, like I said, thank you all for all of your support, and man, it's amazing. I can't believe it.
So just tell us how you're feeling right now, you and the fam, man. We're just talk to everybody, man. We're happy for you.
It's an unbelievable experience. Just so excited for him to finally, get his dust due. And one of the biggest things, I had talked to you is that I really wanted to reach out to you guys and make sure that, let all the Houday Nation and, fans know we really, really appreciate all of your support that you've done and shown, in the past and not still in the future. So without you guys pushing and doing the things you're doing, who knows how long it would have been. But I really, really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. You guys are the best. And like I said, thank you very much.
Tom, I'll let you just run one thing by him because I know Ken's got to go.
Ken, this is so deserving and so overdue. We've talked about it so many times. You and your family have been through the sausage grinder waiting for this. It's been there. It's been so close before and slipped away. So now I just wanted to tell you, I'm happy for you. I'm thrilled for one of my all-time favorite players who from somewhere is watching down, and enjoy every minute of it. You guys have absolutely deserved it. And I got to say, you and your family you can tell who the patriarch of the family is, because you have handled this with as much class as he always did when he was a Bengal. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's so awesome to hear, Tom. Like I said, I know we talk back and forth as well, and I can't say it enough. Like I said, it's really been an honor, and it makes to see all the support from you guys, and like I said, from fans near and far, social media. I can't reach everybody, but I wanted to come on, make sure I was told Jim, I was like, hey man, I'm coming on as soon as I get a chance. I will I get on, and because I definitely want to thank everybody for their support, and I just, like I said, really appreciate it.
Well,
Ken, it seems like, let me add one thing. Ken, it seemed like just last night when we were standing at the tailgate spot, when you've got the Bengals Ring of Honor jacket for your dad, and obviously we knew this was the next progression. you weren't on the first 2 hours here as we watched the ceremony, and Bengals fans from across the country basically can't wait to get to Canton, support you, support the Bengals organization, support your family for what you've been through, and Bengals Nation is excited to join you and your family in Canton for the celebration.
Man, I appreciate it. I look forward to all that orange and black, and I want to see everybody there. So it's going to be a great time, great party.
Hey, Ken, congratulations. Go enjoy the rest of the night with the fam, man. Thank you so much. And Huday, congratulations. We love you guys.
I appreciate it. Love y'all too. All right, thank you. All right.
Congrats, buddy.
Man, how classy is that? I mean, he's backstage still and comes on and comes on with us just because he wanted to thank the fans, man. That's special. It's a freaking special.
Very, very cool. So thank you, Jimmy, for getting them. And again, this is the culmination of everybody's hard work, whether it's simply sharing a hashtag, sharing a story, being at one of the Jungle Hall events, regardless of where you were in the process. Thank you from all of us. And then we're going to keep pushing forward. And then we're going to enjoy that August weekend in northeast corner of the Buckeye State as, we see the second player in stripes go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Guys, hey, we're not doing a 2-minute warning tonight. Look, we appreciate everybody tuning in. We had an awful lot of people staying this whole 2.5 hours with us tonight, so we appreciate you.
I don't know about you guys, but this has been a long 2 hours, guys. Like, this has been, man.
Oh, my gosh.
Appreciate everybody tuning in and staying with us while me and my 3 friends hung out. Thank you so much.
We're just, you know what? It's not the first time we stuck him in the penalty box. Back in the penalty box he goes. Damn Canadians, right back in there. All right, let's. We had a lot of first-time people that chimed in. We appreciate them and their chat all night. Thanks for sticking around. This was fun. To be able to sit there and see the culmination. Come back on. You're not allowed to talk, Jamie. Here, we're just going to mute you now too. All right, you're just there. Culmination of everything. And Jimmy, I think you're just as excited as Ken the Second. Tom, I mentioned it earlier. You wrote the bios that we discussed in Canton. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. Jimmy, Tom, go ahead and give your final words.
Ken Riley, Pro Football Hall of Famer. That's all we've got. We'll see everybody in March.
Yeah. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. This is a happy time for the organization as a fan. And just, I can't begin to tell you how excited I am and happy I am for the family of Ken Riley, man. So
well put, Jamie. Well put. So
we'll see you guys
in March. Who
day, guys.
Go ahead and end it, Jimmy. You got it.